Pretty exciting morning this morning, Spencer. Thanks for coming out and meeting with me. This is officially episode numero uno of what we're calling the Serkel.
You bet. Happy to be here.
Appreciate it, man. Basically, the Serkel is I kind of call it the reverse ABC. It's a podcast about construction, business, adventure. Also, we're going to roll out some business principles over time that we've kind of developed. But as I was sitting here thinking through this podcast and some of our first guests and who would be appropriate, there was definitely one dude that jumped out in front. So I was excited that you accepted. Given our history together, I haven't had, I don't think, more adventure, certainly, with anybody else. So tell us a little bit about Ashton Sawing and Drilling.
Sure.
What do you guys do? Tell us about your business.
So we started out a cutting contractor. That was kind of my trade. I was a, service cutting. It's concrete cutting is an interesting specialty trade. We cut everything that's concrete: doors, holes, flat sawing, demo, break, haul off. We've got wire saws. We'll cut bridge columns, anything selective demo type of cutting we do. A lot of plumbing for our core drilling stuff. It's a lot of plumbing, core drilling for mechanical and pipes and whatnot. So that's kind of a snapshot a little bit. And then we started back in, with your help, we started placing concrete, and I guess that was around 2008, 2009, kind of to service our clients.
Yeah.
We can cut it, take it out, put it back. So we started that division, and it's grown, kind of outgrown our service volume-wise. And then we also started a flooring. We started polishing concrete and doing epoxy coatings and epoxy terrazzo.
So you've got basically 3 divisions now, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Your concrete, saw cutting,
Yeah.
and core drilling.
Yeah.
Concrete placement, and then the polishing. The saw cutting is really, like you said, that was what got you into the business, though,
Sure.
wasn't it?
Sure.
What got you? I mean, when we met I think it was 2005.
Yeah.
Out at Hobby Airport.
Yeah.
You were doing saw cutting and drilling. You started your company how many years before that?
So it was 2000 when we started. I was just an operator, ran a truck, was cutting, and a friend of mine came and approached me and wanted to start a business cutting concrete. I had actually quit and was going back to school, and then we teamed up and started, and at the time it was A&L Concrete Services. And so we did that for about 6 months, and my partner, we had some differences, so he wanted out, and so I kind of took it over and changed the name to Ashton Sawing and Drilling, and just went to work. And it's kind of something that, I've been asked, like, hey, what's your goals to grow the business and stuff like that, but it was never really. We just kind of went to work, answered the phone, provided a good service for our clients, and kind of just grew organically, if you will. So, we've been successful with the growth of our business, and it's more than anything, it's about the people, though.
Yeah.
Like the people, the culture that we have. We spend a lot of time and effort on that.
Yeah.
But you can't do it all yourself. I'm not good at certain things, and I think that it's important that you realize what you're good at and what you're not good at. And My brother came to work for me 2009, I believe, and he's my CFO, and he's really helped us grow, and he's been a large part of our success. So I think you have to recognize that where you're at and what your
strengths and weaknesses
are, and there's a lot of support out there too for CEOs. And
well, I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't this relationship. Certainly,
sure.
I think part of the whole reason I wanted to do this podcast, especially have you be a big part of the startup of it, was this concept of a circle of network business relationships. When we met, I was working for a general contractor in an office, and 15 years later, got my own business and trying to grow and do it and apply some of the things that we learned, or that I learned just, watching you. Did you think you were going to be an entrepreneur when you were a kid, when you were growing up? Did you think you were going to go be a business owner at some point in time, or what took you down that road?
I had no idea. I kind of, I was playing football in high school, was successful, doing some things, went and played college football for a couple years, and then just kind of trying to find my way, and got a job cutting concrete from guy Jim Johnston, taught me the trade.
Here, and that was in Houston?
No, here it was at a cut and shoot. So,
okay,
cut and shoot core drilling. Yeah, good guy.
There you go,
Jim. So he taught me the trade. He's one of the best. So just kind of the pieces fell where they fell.
But you grew up on a farm, right? And your dad, so you had a lot of that kind of work ethic, get up early, be proud of the work you do. There were probably a lot of things in your upbringing that have helped you be successful at what you do today.
And I think that's probably one of the, if not the most important thing. My grandfather passed away a few years ago, and I was, before he passed away, I was talking to him. I said, Grandpa, that's like what you guys did for us, teaching us how to work, was like the most important thing, And my father too, from a young age was like, hey, you got to produce. Hey, I want to play basketball, and I wanted these shoes, and these Nike basketball shoes. And my dad's like, hey, if you want to play, get a job. If you want the shoes,
go to work.
Because, anyway, so it was something that my family kind of pushed on us, is to work at a young age, and taught us how to work. And I think that work ethic is why I've had success in my life.
Yeah.
So,
well, then that's something that, we both got kids. They're about the same age. Some of them are, the same age, and trying to teach them, like our kids and us to some extent have grew up and have been raised in like the most prosperous, peaceful time in the world's history.
And that's the challenge. The challenge is like, we were poor growing up, and there wasn't an option. You just had to
go to work. Yeah.
If you want nice stuff, you got to work for it.
Yeah.
And so now you get into this generation where it's like, you want to provide and give your kids a good life, and it's a challenge, because at what point do you draw a line and go, tough crap, go to work, dude. If you want to.
They got to learn to earn it.
Yeah. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, no, that's something we struggle with too, is like, the things that you look back at, like what helped you be successful, a lot of it was the grind and the challenge and the hard work and the stress. But yet you want to protect your kids from some of that. You want them to have the things you didn't have, and have the cool toys, and have the benefit of, some of the nicer things in life that you dreamed about when you were a kid. But then sometimes you look at it and go, wait a minute, am I just, this kid needs to earn this stuff, because for me at least, and I know we think a lot alike, is the adventure, the challenging, the challenges we run into. A lot of that's the most enjoyable part of the process. I mean, it's fun to get to the finish line, but that journey is really the exciting part.
Yeah.
So my first memory of Mr. Ashton was in a job site trailer at Hobby Airport, right? Now there is some controversy out there with how this all went down, so we can set the record straight here.
Was it an office or a cubicle?
I'm pretty sure I may have been sharing an office, but job site trailer on site. I'm working for a big, general contractor. We're doing the office expansion or the terminal expansion there. And I hear this voice coming down the hallway, shaking hands and kissing babies. And here comes Spencer Ashton into my office. I think you were talking to somebody about hunting. Was that the theme at the time?
That's what it was.
Right?
And then you invited yourself on the hunt. So we were going hunting that weekend.
This is where the discussion.
Yeah. Well,
there's a fork in the road right here, because I think you're talking about how you like to whitetail hunt, you're a bow hunter, and I happen to throw out there, hey, I like to bow hunt too. I'm pretty sure. Then from there was some sort of an invitation that took place, like, hey, next time you should join us.
Well,
or
I felt bad for
was
you.
that kind of a?
I felt bad.
It was a pity invite.
Well, kind of.
Okay.
So I was like, man, who's this guy? I've never met you before. And I was like, oh, great. And we're talking about, and you jumped in and you were engaged. And I was like, oh, all right. And I believe you said, like, man, I'd love to go sometime. And I said, well, hop in the truck. We're going like tomorrow if you want to go. So
all right.
Anyway, yeah. And so next thing you know, we're in
Uvalde, right? No, Del Rio,
Comstock.
Yeah, we're at Comstock.
And
I had just gotten into bow hunting.
And I didn't know Mark from Adam, and we had the best time, got to know you.
It was a lot of fun.
That was the beginning of a long relationship.
Yeah, that was the first of many. So, I mean, maybe I invited myself a little bit. It was more of a hint, but essentially,
I think I invited you.
The successful, utilizing those sorts of opportunities, a hunt to go hang out, for us, it really changed the whole dynamic. Just getting out of the business environment, spending some time hanging out together, driving around on the lease, just really getting to know each other, building that personal relationship, for me at least, was really what started this relationship for us.
Yeah. And, look, business development guys, they preach, hey, like, you got to take the right guys.
Yeah.
You got to take the right guys hunting. You got to, try to single that out. Who's making the decisions?
Yeah.
Like, hey, at the time, who knew?
Yeah, sure.
How many millions of dollars worth of work have we done together?
A lot.
Off it, and I took you hunting. And at the time, you probably weren't the right person to take hunting.
Probably not.
But at the end of the day, it was like you were the right guy.
Yeah. No, I think...
And more than anything, we've become great friends, and that's probably more important than the millions of dollars of work. But
most of the millions were going your direction, but no. I look, to me, that was something that inspired me. Just watching you, even just take me out, take others out, and watching other business owners that could do those cool things. Set up a trip, organize it. It was always fun and entertaining. And, one of the early, when I was doing business development, one of the early kind of mentors that I would watch and follow would always say, I focus on building a relationship first and then just let the business happen, and make it more of a, I don't think you ever asked me for work, really. It was always just, we built a relationship.
Yeah.
We were hanging out together. I got to know your business. And then it was like, hey, I've got this concrete job over here. We need some saw cutting over here. There's a project coming up. And I never felt like this was just about you trying to get business from me or me trying to get more hunts out of you. Out of you. It was a true relationship that just happened, and we started doing business together.
It's a good point. It's like the relationships are everything, and whether it comes from you or whoever you have a relationship with, they're going to talk to their friends, and that's kind of how we've grown our business is word of mouth and treat everybody with respect and kindness, and like. Why not?
Yeah. So tell me, as you're growing your business, okay, Spencer Ashton says, you know what? I think I can do this. You go out, you buy your first concrete saw or whatever, and you're starting to go. And you said it's just about working hard, provide a good service. What were some of the challenges early on that you saw, as you started to scale your business that you had to try to tackle?
I struggled with the pressure. You get going to where it's just work.
Yeah.
You answer the phone, the guy's got a job, you go to the job, you do a good job for him, they call again, repeat business, you're working, and then you're growing, and I'm buying more trucks and hiring more people. And then the structure, like how to structure your business.
Yeah.
And when you get more people and more people and more people, where's the turning point? There's no book that says, okay, when you get 15 service trucks, then you need to hire this many people, and you need to have this many admin, and you need to have this many, sales guys. And we didn't have a salesman until I think probably 2007, 8.
So you'd been in business for 8 years before you started.
I was just answering.
You were the salesman, right? Because I remember every time we'd ride in the truck together,
put my coveralls on.
You're answering the phone as we're going down the road, taking notes, taking number.
Yeah.
Doing dispatch.
The whole thing. I was selling, doing dispatch. So the challenge is that I'm not, I wasn't a businessman. I knew how to work. I was good at the trade. I knew how to treat people. I liked interacting with people, and so kind of like hey, how do I do this? Like how do I grow this business? The right way and with the right people. Yeah,
so, because now how big are you guys? You've just around a number of employees.
So we have close to 200 employees.
And multiple offices.
Yeah, we have an office in Dallas and in New Orleans.
You spool this thing up. I know just from my experience over the last 6 years is you create this machine.
Yeah.
And you've got all these commitments. Now you've got to keep the thing moving.
And I think that there is no secret recipe. I think that it's just the years that you're in business. Every year we did something different and got a little better.
Yeah.
And you look at these companies that have been in business for 35, 40 years, they're doing some good stuff.
Yeah.
But it's because they've been in business for 40 years.
Yeah. No, we get the same thing. We get it. We get someone that will have joined us that's been with a company who's just celebrated their 100th year anniversary, and they come in, they're like, well, where's this process? Where's this form? Why don't you guys do this? I'm like, man, we've been doing this for 6 years, brother. If you need that form, then go open Word and create it, and, we'll adopt it. Yeah. But it's, trying to create, you're right, all those processes, all those systems, all those things, it takes time, and there's a lot of books out there, but there's no guide. There's no, to growing a concrete cutting and saw drilling, or concrete cutting, placement, and polishing company. Yeah. So you've got to figure that out. All of us had to kind of figure that out. as we grow. I think you mentioned something earlier I want to touch back on, which was culture. One of the things that stands out when I think about you and I think about your company is the culture that you've created, the commitment to your people. You've got loyalty. I mean, you've got guys, I'm pretty sure I could name a few of them that would take a bullet. They would step in front of a train for the company and for you.
Yeah.
How do you create a culture like that?
I think you have to be willing to do the same for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I think
got to
they
be
see
able to
that.
take the bullet for them.
You're right.
And we've always had a decent culture. And I think it stems from, it's always from the top down. We had good culture because, not to toot my horn, but I treated people with respect the way I wanted to be treated, and they get that. And so we've always had decent culture. The challenge is that when you get to a certain size, I can't influence 200 people by myself every week, every month. So we bought into this culture. This is recently. We've been doing this about 6 months. It's a program called High Performance Culture, and we bought into it. And it's a program where you have weekly behaviors or fundamentals, and everybody does the same thing every week.
So the whole company is aligning on.
Yeah, and it's like honor commitments, and there's 28 of them, and we do a different one every week, and it's awesome stuff. So I think that you get to a point where you have to work on culture.
Yeah.
It just happened for a while, and then I felt it slipping.
Well, I've definitely seen that. I mean, we've got a little over 100 people, and I've noticed it when, like you said, you can't be everywhere. I mean, the culture, I think, grew out of you and the guys that were around you, and you have this close-knit group. You're seeing each other. You're on the jobs. You're, in some instances, you're grabbing a saw and operating as well. But as that grows out, they don't get the exposure to Spencer Ashton or even to some of the guys that helped you grow the company.
Yeah.
So you got to create that. You got to have a system.
And that's the challenge.
Scale that,
I've got these, we run about 38 service trucks, and I've got an operator in every one of them, and I might not see him for a month, maybe. We have our weekly safety meetings, and some of them might be working night jobs and can't make the meeting. And so how do I push this drive and this culture? And the number one thing I think is communication. Yeah. Like, you have to be able to communicate with your people and get to all of them. Whether that's a GroupMe app or a Google app or some kind of communication tool to where that's something that we've done we separated them in groups. Okay. And then we use a simple GroupMe app. It's childish. But it works.
Right.
And I can communicate. I can send a message to the whole company. So I do a weekly message to the whole company. They get it. It's the culture message based on our fundamental for the week, and the whole entire company gets it.
And it keeps them connected to the culture, keeps them connected to their leaders.
So they're posting pictures from their jobs, and so I can chime in on it. Man, great work, guys. They get, the number one reason people stay is recognition. Number two is achievement. And so you need to recognize your people and give them the sense of gratification for them doing their job.
Well, and I think seeing, a business owner, a leader, I mean, there are other businesses. You and I have several other relationships out there where the guys get to a certain point, certain volume, certain size, and they check out. They're off at the ranch, or they're not engaged in the business, and you can watch the culture deteriorate over time. And so, obviously, as you grow and evolve as a business, you have some success, you want to be able to go enjoy some of it, but you do have to be careful that, you step out of your business and you're you've been kind of the leader in the culture that's held everything together. If you don't have a way to have that continue, and you could have a problem.
And let me say this, your management, they have to buy into it.
Yeah.
And I think that this is something that I had a real hard time with too, is hiring managers.
Yeah.
Like, I can do that. I can manage that division, and I can manage that division. But I'm doing it half-ass.
Yeah.
And hey, hire somebody. And I hired a guy to run my service division, and it changed the whole division. I mean, that guy is now pushing the culture.
He's the one
driving it, and he's bought into it. And so I think it's important that you hire good managers that can push that. So when you're not there, because you can't be there all the time.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that was real hard for me to give up. But
well, I think the challenge that we've had with the same positions is, everybody wants to be a boss or the boss, and you get some guys that want to do it and are hands off. You've got other guys that like to lead by example. They get in the trenches, they're engaged with their guys, they're motivating them, and that lead by example manager, the guy that's out there willing to get in the trenches, which is how you built your business and how I've tried to build mine. Those are the guys that help you have real success, because everybody looks at them and says, if I'm working late and that guy is still working late, that's a good example. I want to be, it almost motivates people to work as hard as they see you working.
And they have to have your core values.
Yeah.
They have to possess that honesty and integrity and, dependable work ethic. They have to be there. They have to be able to do it on their own. They have to be able to have fun and personality, and they have to have those qualities that you have. And if they don't, you got to get rid of them. So, and that's the hard part, is like every time we have to let somebody go, the question is why didn't we do it sooner?
Yeah.
We should have done it like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So if they don't have your core values and what you possess and what you're trying to push,
you need to eject on.
Yeah.
So you have built your business for the last 20 years. Okay. Yeah. You've seen economic growth. You've seen economic downturns. And right when we all think things are figured out, you're hitting your stride. 2020 for a lot of us was supposed to be best year ever. I mean, that's the way we were looking at it. I talked to a lot of people to say this was projected to be our best revenue, best profit. We're finally going to get the benefit from all this stuff. And then this global COVID-19 pandemic hits everyone like a freight train. How's that impacted your business? What have you guys had to do to adjust to this kind of challenge that none of us could have foreseen or prepared for?
Some of the reasons why we diversified our business is because of this. Like if there's an economic downturn, we're pretty diversified.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got 3 different divisions. When things slow down, typically in the construction industry, the move from new to renovation a lot of times.
Yeah.
So my service department is pretty good at picking that up. So I wouldn't say we're recession proof, but we still managed to do okay. 2008, 2009, it was slow. It hurt us. Just like this.
Sure.
I mean, we've lost like my construction division, job shutting down, nobody's working, we're trying to,
And the whole world's not moving.
Yeah. I mean,
that's tough. Nobody's leaving the house. Nobody's spending money.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it. We've seen the impact on our business, and especially in April. So, we did some things. We try to, keep our people busy with, guaranteeing some of them are good people 40 hours. I think you have to make a conscious effort to keep you're good people that, I mean, you got to, take a bullet for them, do whatever you got to do to get through it, because this is long term. Like,
you got to keep the core.
Yeah, you got to keep your people, and it might hurt for a little bit, but I think it's important that you stand behind your people and try to keep it.
Well, what's been interesting is, as you watch the news and watch the media, there's some perception out there that guys like you and guys like me, that there's a decision to either let folks go or, hoard all the income and money and be selfish and just do what's right for us. And it's not that. What I've seen is we're not structured, at least my business isn't structured to just sustain no revenue.
Yeah.
And still keep a bunch of people employed. Yeah. And so as the world has shut down, it does put you in a really difficult spot, because you want to do what's right for your employees. You want to do what's right for your customers and everybody else. But there has to be a balance there with keeping a healthy organization that can live into the future, because there's a lot of other jobs that the whole business depends, that depends on the business being successful and healthy moving on into the future. And so this thing has created and presented challenges. It's not like, hey, we just lost this one project. It's, hey, this whole industry, oil and gas for us has been a big one, being in Houston, right? All of a sudden, nobody's spending any money. There's jobs where, we've finished pouring the slab and we're receiving the steel, and they're saying deliver it on the slab and pack up and leave. I mean, those are things that you just don't anticipate. You don't expect anybody to just stop a project in the middle of construction and tell everybody to go home.
Yeah.
But, the commitment that you have, and that I see a lot of guys having, that are willing to do whatever they need to do to keep people employed, to keep payroll, moving forward. As all the stimulus funds and PPP monies and stuff were announced, a lot of us were trying to figure that out, and, trying to put the pieces together to make sure that we had reserves and some sort of, good cash flow to make sure we could keep the business moving while we navigate through this thing.
I think it's important that you stay engaged. You try to, it's killing everybody. Like, it's us. I mean, the PPP stuff helped everybody, I think. We're in this downturn. I think everybody is. I think it's important that you meet with your managers and your people and stay engaged and try to do challenges. You can't go talk to anybody. Nobody wants to, get in a group. You can't, go into somebody's office and drop them breakfast or bring in lunch. Yeah. It's all,
virtual.
It's all virtual. So we're trying to stay connected with our customers. Virtually, phone calls and Zoom, and try to push that. But I think that you have to make a plan, and you have to try to work the plan, like the best that you can.
Sure. That's all you can do, really. I mean, there's such a big question mark in the future with this thing. Plus, it's an election year.
Yeah.
People are already conservative in those times. But, I mean, I've seen, a lot of businesses being proactive with the safety of their people on job sites, wearing masks, doing social distancing. We've all had to adjust to that reality, but I know I'm ready to go back to business as usual.
We are too.
So we could spend the whole afternoon talking about this, obviously, but I just wanted to touch on it to get your thoughts on that. We've had a lot of adventures together. I thought it was kind of appropriate to have this one in the hangar. Actually, I think we're going to continue to have these here at the hangar. It's kind of a cool place that we put together. But during one of our adventures, we had a pretty interesting airplane experience.
Oh, we almost died?
the almost died, famous almost died story. I don't think this story was told for quite a while, at least not to my wife. It wasn't. I think we were both in shock still. I talked about it again this weekend, but we get into these adventures, right? Whether it's hunting or riding motorcycles or whatever, we've got a bunch of them between the two of us. But this particular one was pretty interesting.
You don't think the one where I crashed the motorcycle and that you gave me a ride through downtown Salt Lake City on the back of a Ducati was cool?
Yeah, that one was fun too. I mean,
I'm not sure.
It's a miracle that both of us are still even here. We've done the best that we could to try to kill each other.
Nightmares of two 250-pound dudes on a Ducati driving through.
I'm just glad I was on the front.
Oh, jeez. So
we got a lot of horns honk with your ass in the air on the back of it.
Yeah, Mark caused that accident as well.
Somehow I'm the fault. I'm to blame for all the accidents. But he's always there when I'm in an accident.
Yeah, it's weird. So,
yeah,
but the plane thing was we were flying along and you guys decided to go through black cloud, and next thing you know, we're diving out of the sky 2,000 feet. And it was
pretty crazy experience. We just had barely been flying the plane, back and forth to New Mexico. I mean, this had to have been in the first 6 months of owning the plane and flying back and forth to Carlsbad. And I'm like, let's go look at this job in Lubbock, and then we're going to run over to Carlsbad afterwards, jump in the plane. So we get in the plane, we take off, all's good. I was flying, I'm not going to lie, I was flying the plane, getting instruction from my instructor there a little bit, / corporate pilot in the right seat. And we're climbing up, and clouds just kind of start to close in on us. We're on a VFR flight plan, so I start to say, well, maybe we need to climb over this. So we talk to tower and climb over. I think you recall then things got even darker over those clouds.
I recall.
So we start to descend, and I'm in IMC, so I can't see instrument conditions, right? And I'm kind of flying down, and instructor goes, hey, you're off course. We need to get back on course. And I was just trying to hold the wing steady and manage my descent. So I start turning on course, and he goes, oh, my controls. I'm going to go ahead and get us back on. I said, okay. So I let go of the controls. He starts turning the plane. He's looking over here. And I'm like, man, we're in a pretty good bank of turn right now. And then things start getting faster and faster. And I don't know if you remember the sound.
Yeah, I remember.
But all of a sudden it was like getting shot out of a freaking roller coaster, dude. Just that sound of whoosh, come over the air.
Yeah, I was
over
in the back yelling at you guys. Come on, get it together.
Get your together up there. It was pretty bad. But we were at like 13,500, 14,000. I mean, we were pretty high up because we were climbing over those clouds. And when we came out of this thing, we were at 8,000 feet. Yeah. So all I saw was all of the gauges peg. Like our bank angle of our attitude indicator was all the way pitched to the right. Our airspeed probably bent the needle. I mean, that thing went. It was nuts. And I remember the instructor was trying to straighten out the ailerons and get us tuned up, but when we came out of the clouds, all we saw was Mother Earth.
Oh yeah.
So we pulled out, man.
We made it.
We made it. That's and then the next stop, we continued on. We landed in minimum cloud conditions in Lubbock, and then coming home, we rode the lightning the whole way through a thunderstorm.
Yeah, and I'm burning you guys
So-
up on the mic. Pretty soon, you guys just turned it off. I'm like, what are we doing? Let's just land in Austin and
There's lightning.
get in a car.
We're just threading through. Look, we don't do that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
All right. Those were some early flying days. We learned a lot of lessons, doing that. But man, I appreciate you getting into playing that day and continuing to be a good business partner with us, being an amazing mentor for me. You've been there through some really critical times in my life. I know one time that really stands out, probably one of the most influential times in my life, was when I had made the announcement that I was no longer going to pursue a career in construction, that I was now joining the FBI. Not a story I share with a lot of people, but, shortly after I started in construction and I grew up, working with my hands, I wasn't super satisfied, and I was always intrigued with, law enforcement. I mean, I grew up, went to high school around the DC area. So FBI, CIA, all that stuff was super cool for me. So I was going through the FBI special agent process while the first few years of my career were moving on. And of course, the story. I got accepted as a special agent and actually was waiting for my assignment at Quantico. You had invited Andrea and I and the kids over to come have a barbecue at your house. And we're sitting in the back porch, family's inside. And I'm pretty proud of the fact that I just got into special agent. I'm going to go be, a badass with, working covert ops. And you just looked at me and you're like, just out of the blue, you're one selfish son of a bitch. You know that?
I don't know if I said that.
I'm pretty sure that's what you said. I'm like, what? What do you mean, man? I'm going to go serve my country, right?
Yeah.
With a purpose. You're like, dude, you've got an awesome career going. You're growing and getting promoted. And I had big opportunity to move to Florida and take over a bigger position. And you're like, you're going to give up all that opportunity to help your family out, have a great career, just so you can go play policeman and, be an FBI guy and fulfill your own dreams. And you probably didn't know it, but that hit me pretty hard, because it was set. I mean, it was a done deal.
Yeah, I remember.
And so that next morning I went home. I went out of my house. We had a little you remember my house in Bel Air, a little 950 square foot bungalow. I went out of the house Sunday morning, sat in my Hyundai Elantra, which was what I was sporting back in the day, my 5-speed Hyundai. And I was sitting in the driver's seat, and I called the folks at the company that had offered me that position in Florida. And I said, hey, is that job still available? And they're like, well, we're interviewing, but it's yours if you want it. And I said, well, I want it. I'm coming to work for you guys. I'm going to tell the FBI that I'm not going to continue down that road. Now, I went in the house. My wife was in the kitchen, and I told her, and she was freaking tears, just super happy. So, I mean, right now, I could probably be in a pretty awesome place. I might be, sniper rifle on a rooftop, flying a helicopter. I mean, who knows? But this other route's been pretty good too.
Yeah.
So I appreciate, you doing that for me. And
well, I think you made the decision.
Well,
I don't know how much I influenced you there, but
all the ball busting.
I hope it's been good for you.
I
think it has been. I always knew that you were going to be super successful. You were always good at your job, and where you were going at the time, it was unbelievable to me how far you'd come from, being in the cubicle to now you're going to Tampa and at the big house. So
yeah, well, I call you coach sometimes because I don't think it just comes out. You're preaching and coaching all the time, but some of that stuff does change people's lives. It changed my life. I wouldn't be here. I got a bunch more stories like that, but I can only imagine all your employees and all the other guys that have worked around you where you've had a similar moment where you said, basically pull your head out of your ass and do this, and, people have listened to you, over time. I'd be remiss if I didn't share one other story or talk about it at least. August 24th, 2019, my life changed in a big way, and you were sitting right next to me. So, night of my accident, we're out doing what we do a bunch of times, hanging out, having fun, hunting, continue to build a relationship. I think we're trying to pass it on to our kids too and teach them. So my daughter was sitting in the back seat, and we were sighting in a gun, and I jump in the car or jump in the buggy, the side by side, and set up like I always do. And we start to go, and I'm moving around, and flash of light goes off. What were you thinking?
Well, first thing is you okay, Josefina? And she said, yeah. And it was bizarre because Mark didn't really say anything. And I was like, I knew what happened. The gun went off, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I don't have any holes in me. So I looked over at Mark. I said, you okay? And you went, just go. I said, okay. So, we raced back. I knew that you were holding your foot, and I asked if you wanted me to look at it and put a tourniquet on it, if it was bleeding bad. And you said, no, it's not that bad. And so we got back to camp, and I threw you in my truck, and we drove. You bled all over my King Ranch. It's never been the same. I'm waiting for a new truck.
Send me the invoice on the cleaning, not the new truck.
So we made it to the hospital and got you fixed up there. But that was
quite the ride, dude.
Yeah, it was something that we didn't really want to go through, but it happened, and it is.
Well, I was glad you were there. You knew what to do. You got me to a safe place. We were all pretty shocked. Yeah, but it was definitely another added to the collection of Spencer and Mark stories. But
yeah,
getting me to the hospital, jumping out. Obviously, we roll up to the emergency room, and they're like, "Can I help you?"
It's
like, you see this trail of blood, like from the truck to the emergency room? Yes, I need help. This is serious.
So after yelling at them, they finally took you back. And then I was like, hey, done with the paperwork. Can I go back? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, where's he at? And then I looked and I said, never mind. I just followed the blood trail down the hall of the hospital, 2 turns. There's Mark. It's pretty easy to find you.
Yeah.
But it's an unfortunate situation. Hopefully it's getting better for you.
Yeah. No, a lot of progress, taking it one day at a time. As you know, 5 surgeries and 9 months later, got a new device on my leg. So working on mobility so I can keep up with you when we're out on a deer lease or when we're out having more adventures. But man, I really appreciate you coming out this morning. I want to have you back on.
You bet.
We've got a lot more stories to share.
Likewise. Appreciate you having me, and this is fun.
Yeah,
so
we'll
anytime.
We'll do it again.
For
Thank
sure.
you, bud.
You got it.
All right.
Thanks, Mark.